In Palestine, the Israeli occupation forces started the demolition of residential buildings in the Tulkarm refugee camp as part of their ongoing aggressions against the camp and the town. In the United States, President Donald Trump imposed new tariffs, intensifying his trade war against developing countries. And in Argentina, the grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo human rights organization announced they found their 140th grandchild. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Palestine, the Israeli occupation forces started the demolition of residential buildings in Tulkarm refugee camp as part of their ongoing aggression against the camp and the town. This marks the 162nd day of military aggression on the camp and the nearby city of Tulkarm. Israeli armored bulldozers tore down residential buildings in the Al-Murabba neighborhood, reducing them to rubble. The demolition was carried out as part of a new plan that envisages the demolition of 104 residential buildings comprising approximately 400 houses in the camp. And early Tuesday morning, Israeli sources announced the deaths of at least 5 soldiers from the occupation forces amid clashes with Palestinian resistance in northern Gaza. According to a report, the casualties occurred when a bomb placed on the side of a road in Beit Hanun detonated, resulting in at least 14 soldiers injured, some of them suffering even third-degree burns. For their part, Palestinian media broadcast images of the clashes between the Palestinian resistance and Zionist aircraft attempting to rescue the soldiers trapped in the area. More than 400 Israeli soldiers have been killed in combat with the Palestinian resistance in the Gaza Strip since October 2023. And also on Monday, President Donald Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House, where they discussed Trump's controversial proposal to expel besieged Palestinians to neighboring countries. In this regard, the Prime Minister confirmed that his government is collaborating with the Trump administration to identify countries willing to accept Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. Netanyahu's administration described the plan as voluntary migration, receiving backlash from the international community and human rights organizations, which have condemned it as a clear example of ethnic cleansing. Despite Netanyahu declaring that the war will continue to Israel achieve all its goals in the Palestinian enclave, the Zionist regime pointed out that there is still a negotiating team in Qatar's capital Doha to advance a ceasefire agreement. And the United States has withdrawn the alleged foreign terrorist organization designation from the armed group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which seized control in Syria after overthrowing President al-Assad. The memorandum was published in a preview of the Federal Register ahead of its official release. This move comes a week after U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to ease unilateral sanctions against Syria. These sanctions have been in place since 1979 in response to Damascus' foreign policy toward Israel. The new Syrian regime has shown its readiness to improve relations with the regime in Tel Aviv, as the two sides are reportedly negotiating to reach a normalization agreement by 2026. And in Kenya, 11 people have been killed nationwide during anti-government protests on the 35th anniversary of a pro-democracy uprising. Police fired live rounds and water cannon at protesters as hundreds of people demonstrated in the capital, Nairobi. People rally each year on July 7th to mark the date in 1990 when Kenyans demanded a return to multi-party democracy after years of autocratic rule by then-President Daniel Arap Moi. The protest, called Saba Saba, meaning 7-7, in Kiswahili, has turned into a wider call for President William Ruto to resign. In Egypt, a fire engulfed the main building of a telecommunications company in downtown Cairo on Monday, injuring at least 14 people and causing the temporary disruption of internet and cell phone services. According to a statement by the health ministry, the injured were transferred to hospitals. The fire started on the 7th floor of a landmark 10-story Telecom Egypt building in the Ramses area of the capital. Ambulances and fire trucks were on the scene as plumes of dark smoke rose in the center of the city. Firefighters set up ladders and threw water to contain the flames, while security authorities cordoned off the area. The second day of the BRICS summit, Brazilian President Lula da Silva ratified that member countries are sovereign. President Lula also called on the organization to lead a new global development model in the face of Trump's threats and the climate crisis. Monday's plenary session focused on the environment and global health. During the day, pro tempore president of the BRICS, Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva, warned that denialism and unilateralism are eroding the advances of the past and sabotaging the future of the peoples. Lula da Silva also warned that global warming is occurring at a faster pace than expected. The Brazilian head of state also stressed that it is urgent to recover the leading role of the World Health Organization as a legitimate forum to confront pandemics and defend the health of people.
Even without the historical liabilities of the developed countries, the BRICS members have not failed to do their part. At the World Health Organization and the World Trade Organization, we fought together for access to essential medicines and vaccines to overcome the HIV/AIDS epidemic, malaria, tuberculosis, and other problems that mainly affect the most vulnerable countries. At the Cairo and Beijing conferences 3 decades ago, we reaffirmed the human rights of women and girls, including sexual and reproductive health. Today, denialism and unilateralism are eroding the progress of the past and sabotaging our future.
Likewise, BRICS pro tempore president pointed out that the advance of global warming is leading the territories to a point of no return.
Global warming is occurring at a faster rate than predicted. Tropical forests are being pushed to their point of no return. The kickoff conference a few weeks ago made it clear that the ocean is feverish. A decade after the Paris Agreement, resources are lacking for the just and planned transition that is essential for building a new cycle of prosperity. Developing countries will be the most impacted by losses and damage. They are also the ones with the least means to pay for mitigation and adaptation. Climate justice means betting on actions committed to fighting hunger and socio-environmental inequality. By protecting, conserving, and restoring our territories, we also create opportunities for local communities and indigenous peoples.
You now have our first short break coming up. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. I'm going to be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Washington will supply more weapons to Kiev, U.S. President Donald Trump said Monday, days after ordering a pause in critical shipments to Ukraine. The President of the United States told reporters during a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that they would send more arms to the nation because they were under attack. However, last week, the U.S. Department of Defense suspended shipments of certain specific types of weaponry that Washington had promised to supply to Ukraine during Joe Biden's presidency. The White House said the decision was made to put U.S. interests first, following a Pentagon review of Washington's military support and assistance to other nations. And in the United States as well, President Donald Trump imposed new tariffs, intensifying his trade war against developing countries. In a unilateral and aggressive measure, Trump announced a new escalation of tariffs against Tunisia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Serbia, Cambodia, and Thailand, with tariffs ranging from 25% to 36% respectively. Analysts describe the measure as a strategy of economic pressure against nations that resist the geopolitical interests of Washington. This offensive is added to the coercive measures imposed hours before against 5 other countries in a clear demonstration of the imperialist policy of the U.S. to subdue emerging economies.
5% to 50% the tariff.
And the U.S. President also sent the first letters announcing new unilateral tariffs to the countries with which he thinks that is not making progress in trade agreements. The President assured that Japan and South Korea will have additional rates of 25%. In the case of South Korea, it is the same rate Trump had announced in April, while for Japan it is slightly higher than the 24% initially planned by the Republican president. In two virtually identical missives, Trump said that the new tariffs on these countries will come into effect on August 1st. President Trump imposed tariffs of 10% on almost all of his trading partners in April and threatened even higher rates on some economies such as the European Union as a tool of pressure and inherence.
The President will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made and those countries continue to negotiate with the United States.
Also in the United States, authorities announced more than 100 dead after floods caused by overflowing of the Guadalupe River in Texas. Texas authorities reported more than 60 bodies have been recovered, of which almost 30 belong to minors. At the same time, they expressed that the search and rescue work continues with hundreds of agents, helpers, and support personnel in all areas. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, announced his visit to the most affected areas of Texas next Friday, July 11th. He also reiterated his commitment to deploy all federal resources to unify the affected families. In this context, a candlelight vigil was held Monday evening at Travis Park in downtown San Antonio to honor the lives lost in the recent flash floods that have devastated communities across Texas. More than 100 people have died in flooding triggered by unrelenting rain Thursday night into Saturday afternoon. Hosted by Centro San Antonio, the event aims to bring the city together in solidarity with families and residents affected by the disaster.
Your strength to survive, but to move forward. Your strength.
Talked about the soul of the center city, and
also in that country, various sectors have denounced the failures of the administration of President Trump in dealing with the disaster in Texas. Observers have already pointed out that Trump's cutbacks, as well as the lack of specialized systems that may have prevented earlier flood warnings. In addition, Texas officials pointed to cuts to the National Weather Service as a cause of inaccurate forecasts. Recently, the Department of Government Efficiency cut some 600 employees from the National Weather Service. The understaffed agency previously warned that the severe shortage of meteorologists would hurt weather forecasting. And several provinces in eastern China are on alert for the arrival of Typhoon Danas, now weakened to a tropical storm after its passage through Taiwan, where it left at least 2 dead and more than 600 injured. At about 10 a.m. local time, Danas was about 55 kilometers southeast of a point on the coast of eastern Zhejiang province, between the cities of Taizhou and Wenzhou, home to more than 15 million people. The storm is expected to continue moving westward throughout the day, weakening to a low remnant by 8 p.m. local time after making landfall. Chinese authorities have warned that some of the areas through which the typhoon will pass could receive rainfall of up to 350 millimeters in addition to strong winds. And in Spain, a forest fire has devastated over 1,500 hectares in Tarragona, with strong winds hindering firefighting efforts. Overnight Monday, the locality's hardest hit were Pols, Alfara de Charles, Chertes, Aldover, Tivenis, and Roquetes. Firefighters reported wind gusts of up to 90 kilometers per hour. They also ordered inhabitants of 6 villages to stay in their homes as the strong winds are expected to fan the flames. Several highways are cut in sections close to the fire area, and the perimeter has grown at several points while firefighters are working to prevent the flames from crossing the Ebro River and entering the Serra de Cardo. We now have our second break coming up. Remember, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the official button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Found your break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Argentina, the grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo human rights organization announced Monday that they found the 140th grandchild. According to a statement via social media, the organization said that the newly identified grandchild is the son of political activists Graciela Alieta Romero and Raúl Eugenio Metz, who remained disappeared. The couple was kidnapped in December 1976 and taken to a place in the city of Neuquén, where they endured torture and then transferred to a detention center in Bahía Blanca, where they were last seen in 1977. The human rights group estimates that about 500 children were stolen by agents of the Argentine military dictatorship between 1976 to 1983, and around 300 of them are still missing.
Graciela and Raul were kidnapped on December 16, 1976 in Coquelton. Raul was taken out of that clandestine center at the end of January and has been missing since then.
I feel I'm walking among the clouds, like a dragonfly but with the body of a bumblebee.
Let's continue fighting so that truth remain alive. Welcome grandson number 140.
Argentine President Javier Milei is moving forward with dismantling the state by ordering the closure of health, road and technology institutes, which has led to discontent and triggered demonstrations nationwide. Precisely, Milei ordered the closure of the National Cancer Institute, the Cardiovascular Diseases Institute and the Industrial Technology Institute. He also dissolved the National Roads Directorate and the Gas and Electricity Regulatory Agencies. These measures, which will formalize on Tuesday, are part of the President's policy of deregulation and reduction of the state he enacted by means of the Decree of Necessity and Urgency. The order established the National Administration of Health Institutions and prohibited the executive from creating new national hospitals. The Single National Construction Union of Uruguay carried out a partial national strike due to the death of 2 workers as a result of precarious labor safety procedures. The workers asked the government for a series of measures, such as the incorporation of a greater number of labor inspectors and a new occupational health and safety law. Also, the union delegates stated that since January of this year, 7 workers have already died and the number of labor accidents has reached 40,000, for which they demanded to declare a national emergency in this aspect. The president of the union, Richard Ferreira, criticized the previous government for what he understands was a policy of budget cuts, which led to fewer inspections.
Starting tomorrow, we will go out to all of the construction sites nationwide to inform the workers about the current situation of this industry that has to do particularly with the health and safety of the workers, so that the workers themselves do not, through their organization, and make them apply what the regulations of their sector says. After what happened last week with 2 fatal accidents between Thursday and Friday, which cost the lives of 2 colleagues of 59 and 55 years old, who left their homes and said goodbye to their families with the intention of returning, that did not happen in this sense. Today we are in a national strike from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. with the intention of putting in public opinion a new strategic situation that ultimately adds to a sad statistic of our union organization that says that so far in the year 2025 and that in 150 effective working days, we have 7 fatal accidents of colleagues in the construction industry.
And in Chile, people marked the first anniversary of the violent raid against popular organization spaces in the historic Villa Francia in the country's capital. The events of that July 6, 2024 resulted in the arrest of 14 people. The Roman raided a community radio station that had been operating for 30 years, a soup kitchen that fed those who had nothing to eat, and a popular meeting place open for organizations to gather resources for political prisoners. In this context, relatives and support organizations gathered Monday to condemn the events and to show their support for different political prisoners. In Peru, the director of the Caral Archaeological Zone, Ruth Shady, announced the opening to the public of the archaeological settlement of Peñico, located northwest of Lima, scheduled for July 12th. After 8 years of work by a group of residents of the region, the Caral Archaeological Zone will hold its first Peñico Raimi, also known as the Festival of the Sun in the Andean tradition, on July 12th. Thanks to the exchange of populations between the highlands, coast, and jungle of Peru, the new name of the archaeological urban center became the City of Integration of the Valley of Supe. Established in the year 1800 and located in the town of Huara, approximately 12 kilometers from the sacred city of Caral. At the Osaka Expo 2025 in Japan, China's immersive digital exhibition entitled Tan Architecture Building Timeless Glory was inaugurated. This initiative seeks to promote Chinese art through a multimedia experience that transports visitors to the aesthetics of the Tang Dynasty architecture. The exhibition highlights iconic structures of this era, including the Fu-Wan Temple and Damin Palace, using advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence-based animation and 3D modeling. In addition, paintings from the Song Dynasty are on display, reflecting the rich heritage of China and representing an innovation in cultural diffusion and exchange between civilizations. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.